The term alt-right became part of the national vernacular over the past year. You probably didn't hear of it before then. Aside from, the alt-right followers who promote white supremacy and things like that, many elements of the movement have permeated American culture. Primary example right here, the White House. Steve Bannon, President Trump's chief counselor, he used to run the website Breitbart. Other outlets like Drudge Report, InfoWars with Alex Jones, they drive the right-leaning conversation in the country. They have managed to set the agenda many times and spread conspiracies on many other occasions. And there's been an opposite reaction on the left. We've seen the political left galvanized by the progress that they see on the right. They're now denouncing what they see as bigotry, and they make demands of their elected officials very often. We've covered their marches here in the nation's capital. Now that drumbeat of advocacy has entrenched itself online in a big way, with so much energy building on the left in so little time. Sites that have been dubbed alt-left are attracting millions of new followers. Some are on Facebook, others are independent, but there's a common thread. They're anti-conservative and almost always anti-Trump. The problem is that many of the liberal memes, articles, tweets, commentaries, they're just not true. People are falling for bogus stories on the left. BuzzFeed analyzed 3 of the most popular liberal sites, and about 20% of the content was fake. Again, this is fake news on the left, not the right. I talked with Professor Silvio Wasteboard of George Washington University. He studies media trends. We wanted to find out more about this. He told me the alt-left is on the rise. Professor Wasteboard, you study media trends all the time, right? On the left, in what's being called the rise of the alt-left, what are you seeing?
Well, the alt-left started with the internet. From the very beginning, you have sort of people on the left that took sort of opportunities that the internet provided to speak with a stronger voice that probably was not available in the mainstream media. So I would say that from the very beginning, we see that, and now what we see is the consolidation of those trends. We have sort of a very healthy, solid, sort of what could be called alt-left space to voice ideas, particularly during the Trump administration.
Okay, so let's start, I guess, maybe with the people who are using it. What motivations do you see in your research and that of others for why people are drawn to things like this?
Well, I think there are 2 main reasons. One is that they don't see themselves in the mainstream media. They don't see their lives, their concerns, their friends' sort of stories represented in the mainstream media writ large. So that creates sort of a demand for an alternative space. And second, I think that the opportunities to network with sort of like-minded people in order to sort of organize actions or sign petitions or sort of all kinds of political activities.
Or just feel the warmth of a cocoon.
Well, in the fact that you feel like like-minded people find each other. This, of course, is not unique to the alt-left, but is sort of across the political spectrum. It's a very powerful magnet for people to sort of actively participate, read, contribute, comment in sites that reflect their views.
Don't you think it's kind of ironic that we've heard so many people be so upset about the alt-right and the alt-right media, the Breitbarts, all those of the world, but now that the left is in some ways mimicking that?
Well, I think that, you could argue that it precedes the alt-right.
Really?
I will think so. Because the history of the internet has to do with sort of some communities, I would say, in the left, at least in this country, that saw that as a powerful sort of mechanism, tool to connect. I think the attention of the alt-right has primarily to do with the fact that during the 26th election, seemingly, and there is fact supporting this, the alt-right played a major role in sort of connecting conservatives sort of beyond, the folks of the more traditional media like talk show radio. So I think that's probably why it overshadowed the conversation about the alt-left. But let's not forget that there is sort of, as I mentioned earlier, a very sort of well-organized group of people who are sort of not the traditional mainstream left, who feel that the internet provides plenty of opportunities for connection and for expression.
Well, let me ask you this, because when you said there's a healthy amount on the left, I kind of go to the question of, is it healthy speech? Is it healthy news or information that's being put out there? Do you think that it's contributing to a problem on the left now, that these polar opposites are just kind of going too far?
Well, that's the ambiguity that we have in democratic expression. you know, in speech. One is that you want people to find platforms to express themselves.
Sure.
Right? That's part of what democracy is about.
First Amendment.
It's the First Amendment. On the other hand, democracy cannot function only when people talk, and especially talk to like-minded people. People need to talk to people with whom they disagree or don't have necessarily much in common. And that to me remains one of the main challenges, one of the main obstacles that we have. Because if everybody's talking to like-minded people, you know, it measures very high in terms of expression, but it can lead to polarization, to sort of what people call these, you know, bubbles or filters or echo chambers,
Sure.
in which permanently we hear people who are like us, not just in terms of partisanship and ideology, but in terms of education, you know, income, class, I mean, all, you know, pretty much other dimensions. So I think that that's one of the dangers that we're seeing, and there's not clear what can be done to overcome that. And there's all kinds of ideas, you know, and social media companies are toying with some ways in which people can be at least minimally exposed to views that sort of counter what they believe. But I think that the problem goes much deeper. I mean, the sense that we have a sense of permanent reaffirmation of what we believe. We're not ever satiated. I mean, every day we want it again to be told that yes, we are right, or to talk to people who don't think like us. It's not easy. I mean,
Sure.
It leads to very difficult conversations and tensions. So, I mean,
but it's good.
But it's good in the abstract sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about what democracy, especially a democracy like ours, where so many people come from many different walks of life to talk to each other, but people sort of, you know, deliberately avoid talking to other people for well-known reasons, because people don't want to be part of very conflictive conversation.
Real quick, last question for you. Give me a glimpse, if you could, into what you see happening next in trends in media, because this is your specialty.
Right. Well, I think that we're likely to see the reaffirmation of what we have been discussing.
Just more.
It's more of the same. It's very difficult to envision how the alternative might be possible.
Okay.
And I think that we are, particularly given the political climate right now and polarization, and the fact that the left, you know, for, in my mind, good reasons, decided to strongly oppose and resist the Trump administration, we're going to see more of that space becoming stronger, not just online, but even in legacy news media. You know, look at sort of trends in cable news or, you know, television that speak to the fact that that kind of content is meeting a demand.
Yeah. Professor Wasteboard, appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.